Everyone. This is Dr. Jason Clemmons at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and you are listening to Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Friday, October 20th, and we are coming to you live from the Rock Health and Wellness Studios and on 98.7 FM Walk by Faith Radio and all over the internet, all over the world. So, all you people listening to us and on this entire planet, we're glad that you're here with us tonight. We got a great show for you. We've got a wrap-up show. First thing I want to do, I got a list. I got things. First thing I want to do is I want to apologize for last night's show. That was 100% my fault. I did something here in the office. I mean, I didn't purposely do it. I just had a moment where I lost my internet when I started to connect to the show. Something went wrong with my Mac. I lost my internet, and Bob and Ken were trying as hard as they could to get me back on the radio. And I couldn't do the live show on Facebook. I couldn't do the live show on the radio. So last night we were out of luck. We stayed here. I stayed here. The guys stayed with me till about 6:40, trying to get me back on track, and we just couldn't do it. So I apologize for that, and I hope that we can get that settled. I worked on it last night till about 8 o'clock, and then worked on it again today. I've got 3 computers on my desk, and I think we finally found a way that we could get to you every night. So maybe we got it all worked out. I'm sorry about last night. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Victor and Leticia Flores invited me, and Ken invited me to the Bienvenidos Gala or Gala. We've had lots of conversation about how you say that, and that was on Wednesday night after the show. And I had an opportunity. I got to see all those guys. I got to see Ken and Bob that help us on the radio and handle all our radio stuff, and got to see Victor and his wife, and it's good to see those guys. But one of the guys that I got to see was Robert Pratt, who does Pratt on Texas and on the radio right before we have our show. And I just wanted to say, I mentioned it in the intro just a minute, but I wanted to say it also on the Facebook Live and the YouTube and the Twitter or X, that I just really appreciated him taking time. I know he's a busy guy. I know he's been in the business for a long, long time, and he knows a lot about what's going on in the business. And just to stand and visit with me for a few minutes, just to share some of the things that he shared with me. He didn't even realize probably what a big deal it was to me for him to share that information. So I just wanted to say thanks and to Robert Pratt for his time that he spent visiting with me, and I really do appreciate that. I really look forward to the next time we can get together, and maybe we can you can teach me some more things to try to make this show even better, and we'll continue to work on it and continue to work on it. I was interesting when I just looked just a few seconds ago. I just looked up there at the calendar just to see October 20th, and it's like, man, we're almost through 2 months of this that we've been working on this show, and you would think I'd be better at it by now, but we're working through some of the details. I'm working through some of the content. There's a lot of content, and it was funny, some of the things we were talking about on Wednesday, just standing there talking, and they were talking about the show, and it's an interesting show because we're talking about health 5 nights a week, and we've had one guest so far, Dr. Fraley. I'm working on some more guests to try to get some more guests here on the show with us. But it's basically just the information that I know that I'm trying to share with you. And it's a little bit repetitive because it's not that complicated. Health comes down to the same fundamental things over and over and over again. And so every time we try to put together a show and put together some content for the show, what we end up with is the same thing over and over again. And then we read a book, and like we did on Wednesday, we had in our book review, we broke down cancer as a metabolic disease. And if you didn't see that show, hopefully you can go back and watch it. And it's really interesting show, and it talked about the ketogenic diet, and if you don't know what the ketogenic diet is, that means that you change the energy source for your mitochondria inside your cells, and your mitochondria is what makes your power. And so you change the energy source from glucose to ketone bodies. And glucose is what you get when you eat carbohydrates. And so the the Cancer as a Metabolic Disease book broke down for us that what it actually happens to us in the process of getting a cancer is getting cancer is that we're having some sort of trouble with our mitochondria, and it's breaking down and it's having trouble breathing, and now we're going to end up with um, a change in energy source, which goes back to the very primitive parts of what's happening in that mitochondria. The mitochondria used to be its own cell. It used to be its own entity, and then it got the idea is it got enveloped into the human cell. And I don't know exactly how that went, and nobody else does either. But that's the theory that is behind that idea. And so, over a period of time, the we have developed different ways that we can provide energy for that mitochondria. And that's what the book was about on Wednesday. It was about cancer. It was about going into that ketogenic diet. It was about calorie restriction and exactly what happens to us when we have cancer. So if you've got anybody in your family that's dealt with cancer or is dealing with cancer, or you are dealing with cancer, it's a really interesting book. I by no means am treating cancer, and I'm not recommending that your doctors aren't doing a fabulous job treating your cancer. That's I just wanted to share some information with you that might help. It just might add a little bit more to what you are going through, and so that maybe it'll help out a little bit, and maybe you can after maybe you could get through your cancer, because that's the biggest thing right there, right? And we also, the Cancer as a Metabolic Disease by Thomas Seyfried is a very complicated book, and um, it's very scientific, and it's very biochemical, microbiology. Biology. One of my patients today said, "Well, what is that called? Microbiology?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of what it's all about." So a book that goes right on along with it, that's written for more of a normal person, is called Tripping Over the Truth. And that's how the metabolic theory of cancer is overturning one of medicine's most entrenched paradigms. And anytime you start talking about stuff like that, then you start getting people fussy. They start fighting over things, and they want to say, well, we want to do it the way it's always been done. And that's just it's one of the big things that I think we go through in everyday life is we don't have any flexibility. We don't have any flexibility to keep going, to learn something new, to be able to adapt to our environment. And those of us who don't have any flexibility are the ones that get taken out. They're the ones that break. I mean, if you just think about a stick, if a stick doesn't have any flexibility, it'll break. Those remember those old unbreakable combs that we used to have, right? You could try to bend those things back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They had lots of flexibility, and they were really hard to break. It's kind of like a straw. A straw's got a lot of flexibility. It's hard to break. Well, when we get into treating cancer and you want to look at it from a wellness model, you're going to be coming up against people who are entrenched in a paradigm, a way of thinking that they don't want to give up on. They want to stick to that same thing that they've been doing. And if you go back and you start to study it and you start to look into why that's going on, man, there's a lot of money involved in that. And I think we mentioned that a little bit this week too, is just like capitalism is really hard on health and wellness. And that's trouble for you when you're trying to be healthy, because you're not getting a chance to really think it through, and you're not really getting a chance to get all of the information that's the best for you. And that's what we're trying to do with this show. We're trying to create a show that gives you the information to be healthy, but it's just not that complicated. It just gets back to from some very simple and fundamental things that will give you the opportunity to be healthy, like eat well, move well, and think well, as Dr. Chestnut says, right? Just like making sure that you're getting the right foods that you need, making sure that you're getting the right movement that you need, making sure that you're thinking well, and evolving with the times. I want to get into that for a second. I kind of got an agenda for the show, but that reminds me of some conversations that I've had over and over again here lately. And I haven't had really anyone break it down for me that, and it's going to be a little rough getting through this because I haven't really mapped out exactly how to say this. But one thing that I have noticed now that at 52 years old is that I don't think we're evolving properly. I don't think we're evolving. I don't think we're evolving properly with our thought process to move us up the ladder and really help us function at a higher level. And I'll give you an example. This is going to be kind of silly, but I'll give you an example right here. I'll give you the example of birthday cake. That was a conversation that we had today. One of the little kids that came in with his mom when his mom was getting adjusted, he was a little hyper today. He was squealing when he was out there in front. He's probably 3 or 4 years old, maybe 3 years old. And he was pretty hyper. And when he came in, I said, what is going on with you, dude? And I said, you've been eating sugar or something? And his mom was like, man, he did. I messed that whole thing up. We had a birthday party that we went to on Sunday, and he did have cake and ice cream at the birthday party. And I was like, well, it's Friday, so I'm pretty sure he probably got over it by now. So what I was thinking. But I did say, I was like, it's really interesting that we have cake and ice cream at a birthday party. And we call it a treat, right? That's what another guy told me when he got adjusted this week. He's like talking about a treat, about taking he went to the Abilene Zoo or something this weekend, and he just got off track with his diet and he got into this treat idea. And so when she said that about the birthday cake, I actually thought about that and I was like, where did that come from? Where did a birthday cake come from? What is the deal with celebrating our birthday? Right? So I do not know the history of this. I have not studied it. I did not go and study it this afternoon. If you guys know it, you can break it down for me. You can send me a text. You can send me a text at 806-794-0400 if you have the answer to what exactly is the reason why do we have birthday cakes for our birthday and ice cream? Where did that come from? Because part of me wants to think that there had to be some sort of capitalism involved in that, right? And I'm all about America now. I'm all about capitalism. I'm about opening it up, getting after it. So I'm not trying to say I'm not, but I'm simply saying the thing that really came to me when she said that this morning, this is an independent thought. This is Friday afternoon, October 20th, and you're getting some independent thoughts from me on our health. But the thing that first came to me was we celebrated that you made it another year. We celebrated your longevity. Maybe that's what we were trying to do. Maybe you didn't die this year. Maybe you didn't get eaten by a lion or a tiger. Maybe you didn't fall off of a mountain and have some sort of issue. Maybe you didn't the enemy didn't come sweep in and take you out. And then it's the anniversary of you being born, and it's the anniversary of you making it another year. I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure how exactly that came along. There may be a little bit of all that has to do with it, but then all of a sudden, we to celebrate that, we're going to bring in the ice cream and the cake. And I got a birthday coming up on Thursday next week. I'll be 53 on Thursday. I'm not going to have a birthday cake or an ice cream. And I'm not feeling bad about that or fussing about that or pouting about that. I got over it. I passed that point in my life. It goes back to that better as a memory idea. And that's exactly the way I look at that. It's like, dude, that doesn't even make any sense. Like we say, well, you're gonna celebrate your birthday? Yes, I'm gonna celebrate my birthday. I'm probably gonna go out to lunch. I may go over to my mom and dad's and have supper, but I'm not gonna toxify myself on my birthday to celebrate anymore. I'm just kind of past that. I'm not doing that anymore. Well, then I go on Wednesday and I go out with those guys and I go to that gala And it was kind of like you're the strange one in the room. And then because you're, everybody else is just kind of like, I don't even have any idea what you're talking about. And this is kind of strange. And we don't really follow any of those thought processes that you have, which is fine with me. I don't care if you follow them or not. It's just simply the idea that when you start talking about wellness in a crowd, you are the strange person in most of your crowds. You're the one that people are fussing with and disagreeing with. And a lot of times what I'm learning is that it's just creating an uncomfortable feeling of that person, because that person is not really feeling awesome about the way that things are going. Like it becomes an internal struggle and not something that I'm doing. It's like it's not my fault that we had that conversation with one of my patients this week. One of her friends got really mad at her when she was talking about peanut butter, and her friend was later called her and apologized, and she said, I'm sorry that I was fussy about that. Um, it's just my own internal struggles, right? And I'm not trying to create an internal struggles for anyone, but I don't think that I don't think we're really thinking about getting better on a daily basis. I don't think the majority of us are thinking about getting better on a daily basis. I think we're so caught up in our activities, and we're so caught up in the state that we're in, that we don't really have our eye on the future. We don't really have our eye going forward about where we're going with things, right? And everybody's in a different place in life, and I get that, and I understand that that's completely normal. But maybe some of the things that we do here on the show could give you a little bit of encouragement to move forward. Maybe what we're doing a little bit of the show could give you an encouragement to say, you know what, whatever ailment I've been dealing with, maybe I can overcome that ailment. Maybe I can get past this thing that I've got. Maybe if I put myself in an environment that's congruent with health, I might be able to get on past it. And I asked one of my ladies this week, if you got on past it, what would you do with the rest of your life? Because she's 74 years old and she's been dealing with something for a while. And I said, okay, so once you get you past this, what do you think you're going to do next? Well, I'm not 100% sure that she's really ever thought about getting past it. She's had it for so long that maybe she doesn't think she's going to get past it, right? And I think I think getting I think getting past it has is intentional. I think sometimes you have to actually have a reason to be better. That's why we go back to when we're doing all of this stuff is go back to our why, right? What are we trying to accomplish to get better, and what is it that we're doing on a daily basis to get better, right? And what would we do if we got better? How would life be? How would life be if we got better at our health? If our health was increased, would it make any difference in our life? And I'm not 100% sure that people really think about that. I don't know that they think that it makes any difference. And I'm pretty sure that we've got a bunch of us out there that are simply not even thinking about it at all. We talked about that in our staff meeting this morning. So we have, for my patients that are listening, that have been with me for a while, and I hope it continues if you stay here for a while. But the longer I go in my career, the more information that I get. I mean, I think you would want your doctor to be smarter every year that he works. I think you would want your doctor to study and try to learn more things to try to help you be better, right? I think that's fair enough. I don't think that's an unusual request of your doctor. I think most of your doctors, I think, do that, right? So when we do that in our office, we bring new things into the office. In this last couple of years, we've really brought lots of new technology into the office to try to improve the care that we provide for our patients. Well, they don't know for sure why they come get adjusted. That they don't know for sure why they go across the hall and do their exercises. And let's talk about that one specific thing. Going across the hall and doing your exercises, right? We were talking about one specific kid that's had a lot of trouble, and I don't see him progressing at the level that I want him to progress. He's not moving forward at the speed that I would like for him to move forward. And so I was talking to Brooke, who runs our gym, and I said, Brooke, what's going on in there with this person? And how's he doing? Is he getting better? Is he getting is he staying in there long enough? Is he doing what he needs to do? And so we had a long conversation about that, about, hey, are you doing better? Are we doing the things in our office to help him get better? And so when we started having this conversation, what we brought up in the conversation was people don't understand why they go into the gym to do their exercises. They come in to get adjusted, but then they don't want to go over to do their exercises. And that's kind of interesting, because why are they coming in to get adjusted? Well, they're not 100% sure why they're coming in to get adjusted, and they're not really 100% sure. And that's my fault. I mean, to a certain extent, I will take responsibility for that. I'll get better. But when they come in and get adjusted, I have invested into that gym. I have tried to create a facility to give the person the opportunity to be as healthy as possible. But they're not real sure why they're supposed to go there. And some of them will go over there and they'll say, well, I don't understand why I'm in here. Or does this even help anything? Or what are we doing this for? Right? Well, what we're doing it for is to try to get your brain to function at the best level possible to solve whatever problem you came in my office for. So regardless of what your problem was, let's say you come in with plantar fasciitis on your foot, right? It's plantar fasciitis. It's everybody get that, practice that one time. Plantar fasciitis. You can run that together if you want to. It is inflammation of the fascia. Fascia and itis is fasciitis. Okay? Plantar fasciitis. That's what you got going on right there in the foot. Well, why do you have that going on in your foot? Well, I can tell you that if all I do is look at your foot, sometimes you might get better, sometimes you're not going to get better, but overall, it's kind of a 50-50 type of deal. The way that we have to get that better is we have to get your brain to function better. And I'm not saying that your brain, it has a tumor. I'm simply saying that there's the firing pattern in your brain is not firing the way that it's supposed to fire. And that's causing the muscles not to work properly, which is causing the gait to change, which is causing the foot to malfunction, which is causing the fascia to get inflamed, which is causing plantar fasciitis, right? Or let's say you come in with low back pain, a bulging disc in your low back. Where should I look first? Should I look at the bulging disc in your low back, or should I look at your brain? Well, in the beginning of my practice, I used to look at your low back first, but I've evolved. I've evolved in my thinking and gotten a deeper understanding of what's going on in your body. And that disc didn't bulge first. What happened first was some sort of pattern from your brain stopped working properly, which caused the muscles to be weak around the vertebrae, which caused the disc to bulge, right? That the functioning of the joint changed. And when the function of the joint changed, then the disc got compromised, and that's what caused your low back pain, right? So when you come in to get adjusted, I'm trying to fire your nervous system in a pattern that helps your brain work better. But I'm also going to send you across the hall to go through other exercises that you can do to help strengthen that pattern that we just fired in the adjustment. We're going to go across the hall and we're going to do some laser glasses with moving your eyes in a certain direction. We're going to do vibe plate work where we move our arms in a certain direction or we fire our brain in a certain direction. We're going to do um, iron neck, or we're going to do ring pulls, or we're going to do um, exercise ball work, or we're going to do white bar stretching. There's a lots of stuff that we could do inside the gym that's going to make a lot of difference, and that will help you fire the pattern properly so that your brain does work the way it's supposed to. Well, if you don't understand that and you don't understand what we're trying to accomplish when you go over there to the gym, you're not really going to be all that interested in going over there to the gym, right? You're just going to say, I don't really understand why I'm doing these exercises. It seems like a waste of time. I don't even understand what's happening over here in the gym. Well, I think what happens is that happens a lot. I think that happens when we talk about omega-6-3 ratio, or when we talk about refined carbohydrates, or we talk about cake and ice cream on your birthday, right? That's the stuff that we're trying to work through. And we're going to go to a break now. We're coming up on a break here on the radio station at 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. And when we come back from the break, we'll just continue some of these Friday thoughts, continue some of these books we've been looking at, and see if we can say some things that might help you be better. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't forget, everybody, we've got, hang on, we've got our contest, right? We've got our contest to try to guess how many Red Hots are in a 20-ounce drink. And if you guys are familiar with the show, you understand what our contest is, right? So these red hots are supposed to represent the number of blood pressure medication or birth control pills or any sort of medication that you take one of. I was taking a zinc last night. I was taking and I was going through my supplements that I take, and I opened up that zinc package, the zinc bottle, and I just put one of those little zinc tablets in my body. And apparently that helps your immune system, right? Because I was taking it along with my multivitamin and my vitamin C and my CoQ10 and my N-acetylcysteine and my fish oil, and I was going through my magnesium and my probiotics. I was going through my list of stuff, and I just had one little bitty. I had one little bitty zinc tablet, and it made me it kind of made me laugh because I was thinking about, man, how many of those zinc tablets could go in a 20-ounce drink, right? And so we really we don't think about we don't think about when we just have one soda a day, or we just have one ice cream a day, or we just have one, you know, whatever that thing is that we keep justifying to ourselves that we need to have, that one thing that we have per day, when we have that one thing a day, it's if you have one soda a day, it's equivalent to how many red hots, right? So if you're watching the show and you would like to win a $50 gift certificate to Longhorn Steakhouse, where you can go get an awesome steak and a sweet potato and a salad, which is a pretty good meal. It's not a perfect meal, but it's a pretty good meal. Then that's a place that you could go, and you can guess how many Red Hots are in a 20-ounce bottle of soda. And we've got some really good guesses, and we've got some really close guesses right now. So the contest is going good, and there's some really good guesses, and you're gonna have to guess it pretty close to win because we already got one of the guesses that's pretty dang close to win so far. So if you want to guess, don't forget about our contest right there. All right, everybody, we're back. This is Friday, October 20th. We're coming back on 98.7 FM Walk by Faith Radio, and you're listening to us live on that show. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. And then if you're also listening to us on Facebook at the Rock Health and Wellness Centers, and on YouTube at Health from the Rock, and on X. So if you want to find us, you can find us. And that's hopefully you want to find us, or at least you want to go back and look at some of these shows, and maybe some of this stuff is rubbing off on you, right? And so we were talking about before the break, because I'll just get right back to it. What we were talking about before the break was the patients that come into the office that just don't understand. They just don't understand exactly what they're doing when they come into the office. And obviously, I could do a better job of helping them. And I do have some of them that do understand it, and they go do their stuff, and they watch what they eat, and they take their fish oil, and they're rocking life, right? They're out there rocking life. So let's carry that thought a little bit further and see if we can think about it on a daily basis. Like, what time are you going to go to bed tonight? What is the routine? What's the routine of sleep at your house? Are you going to get any sleep throughout the week? Are you going to get sleep tonight? Are you going to go to bed early? Are you going to try to get some rest tonight? Or are you going to stay up all night watching movies till 2:00 in the morning? Right? Is that something that you do on a daily basis, or you play video games until 2:00 in the morning, or what is your thing that you do, right? So that's one thing that you might consider that you're not quite thinking about what you could do to make yourself healthier, right? And another thing you could do is just kind of map out this whole weekend. What's for breakfast tomorrow? What are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow on a Saturday? Well, typically in our house, until I finally decided I wasn't going to be sick anymore, until I finally decided I was going to take control of my food, man, we would have had all kinds of things on Saturday, right? Waffles, man, I love waffles. We would have had waffles or pancakes. We would have had cinnamon rolls. Y'all ever get those Pillsbury cinnamon rolls that you put in there? You have to bake them up, and then you get that icing, that white icing that you put on top of that cinnamon roll. Man, that was delicious. So we might have some cinnamon rolls. We might have 2-3 packs of those cinnamon rolls. But we never ate one cinnamon roll at my house. That was not a thing. Like, and I'm talking about my house since I've been grown, not in my house that I grew up in. I'm talking about the house that since I've been grown. On Saturday, man, waffles with syrup, at least 2 or 3 waffles. Never had one. Donuts, well, we just run and get some donuts, right? We'll just take the kids and we'll just go get some donuts. And you start thinking about all those things. You start thinking about all those things that we're going to have for breakfast tomorrow, right? I can tell you what we're going to have for breakfast tomorrow. We're going to have sausage and eggs, and we're going to have pistachios and macadamia nuts, and we're either going to have some raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, or we're going to have raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries in a smoothie, and that it just means we're going to blend them up in a blender with a little bit of stevia and some water. Put a few scoops of ice in there. That's going to be breakfast tomorrow. I can tell you that's what is going to be breakfast tomorrow for us, right? And why is that going to be breakfast tomorrow for us? Because I've thought about it. Like I've lived it one way, and I'm living it a different way. And I finally thought myself through that first way that I was living it, right? I finally thought myself through that. I finally thought to myself, man, this is probably, you're going to kill yourself. You're literally almost 50 years old. So I started this thing, and then I dropped off the wagon for a minute, and then now we're almost to 20 months since we did it, since we started it. And I'm not saying it because it makes, I'm not trying to brag. I don't care about bragging about it. I'm not trying to win you over or something like that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to share my life with you. That's what the show is. It's life, right? I thought it through, and it took me a long time. It took me a long time to think it through. It took me a long time to really think to myself, what are we going to have for breakfast on Saturday? And I know how simple that sounds, but I don't know how many times I got to Friday night because the week was hard, because we were tired, because we ran the kids all over the place and went to do whatever the kids were doing. And we get to Saturday and it's like, I don't know. I don't care. Like, whatever. We could just go have breakfast. We could go get donuts. We can go get powdered sugar donuts. We used to do that all the time, right? Go get powdered sugar donuts and have those for breakfast. And at, at, at some point in our lives as human beings, I'm presenting the idea. I'm just presenting an idea that we ought to just move forward. We ought to just think about what we're trying to accomplish and move forward. And if you're accomplishing whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, and you're doing it with the diet that you are going on now, then God bless you. Like, I will challenge you that you could be better. I would challenge you that you could be more awesome than you already are. I challenge myself with that every day. I want to be. I got on my phone. My screensaver on my phone is win the day. It says it every single day. Win the day, right? Carpe diem or whatever it is, right? It's like, come on, Clemmons. Come on. You got a chance today. Like, you got a chance today to try to win the day. What are you going to do? Are you just going to have cinnamon rolls for breakfast? And that's what you're going to do to win the day? Like, that's how you're really going to try to win today, is you're going to start off the day by eating powdered sugar donuts? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, right? And then, not only as the man of the house am I going to eat powdered sugar donuts, I'm going to provide powdered sugar donuts to my family. I'm going to provide powdered sugar donuts to my wife and children, which is what I did for such a long period of time. It's we I just made those choices because I really, really, really didn't think it through. I really didn't think about exactly what I was doing to cause harm for other people in my family. It wasn't just that I was causing harm for myself. And if you don't believe that eating cinnamon rolls and powdered sugar donuts and waffles for breakfast is creating harm, then you're not paying attention. It's 2023. It's not 1960. It's not coming off the depression of the 30s or 40s or whatever, when the depression was, right? It's not coming off of 1875 when we didn't even have a refrigerator. We're talking about 2023. We're talking about a time now where it's like, man, look, we got enough science. We got microscopes and functional MRI machines and things that give us data. We've got an internet and genome projects and all kinds of things that we've got today that we didn't have in the history of time, that's telling us that you are creating, not you as, again, like you're not one of us, like I'm with you, right? We as a group are creating negative effects for ourselves whenever we start our day eating refined carbohydrates. That's what that is. That's what the cinnamon roll is. What does it mean? It means that the cinnamon roll didn't grow in the field. You can't plant a cinnamon roll plant and then go harvest a cinnamon roll plant. It doesn't work like that. You have to plant something else. Then you have to take whatever that thing is that you planted and you have to move it into a factory, a processing center, and then you have to grind it up, and then you have to put all kinds of chemicals on it, and you have to wash it off, and you have to clean it, and you have to strip it down, and you have to put it back, and you have to make it all into this dough, and you have to do all this stuff, and then you have to put more chemicals in it, and you have to put a lot of sugar in it, and you have to do more stuff, and then you could put it in a can, and then you can put the can in the grocery store, and then we can go to the grocery store and we can get that refined piece of whatever used to grow out there in the field, right? Now, I'm not saying everything that grows out in the field is something we should eat, but that's where we should look if we're really thinking it through. And how easy is it? How much easy is it? How much harder is it to cook cinnamon rolls? How much harder is it to cook scrambled eggs and sausage, or if you don't eat sausage, a steak, or whatever you want to make, and whatever protein you want to get? How hard is it to make scrambled eggs versus making cinnamon rolls? The truth of that is it's really not that hard. It's really not really that different if you think about it, right? It's not a whole lot different to cook a scrambled eggs than it is to cook cinnamon rolls. So it's not that it's the work that it takes to do that, because you can make a breakfast pretty dang quick if you try. There's really not it's not that complicated, right? You can make it pretty quick. So it's not that. That's not it. It's not being focused on the thing that drives you forward. It's not trying to win the day. It's not trying to be a better you tomorrow, today. By the time you get through this day, are you a better you than you were when you woke up? Right? And I think if we would think about those things a little bit. So now let's talk about exercise. So this morning when our alarm went off and I rolled over there and woke, and Leslie got up and we laid there for a second, and it's like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you just going to lay there? I did that for years. For years and years and years, I just laid there. I had a membership to the gym in our town, and I just laid there. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go move my feet. I didn't go move my body. And it was like, why? When I look back now and I think about why did I not do that, that doesn't even make any sense. Why didn't I do that? I didn't do it. I just didn't think about it. I didn't think about exactly what I was doing with my day. I was so numb, I guess. I don't know. I mean, what are you doing with it? Why aren't you going to the gym? If you're someone who doesn't go to the gym, you don't exercise. What is there something about not exercising that you think is good for you? Right? Is there not enough information? I mean, how many books could we bring onto the show to convince you that exercise is good for you? Right? How many podcasts could you listen to that try to tell you that exercise was good for you? Would there be enough information to tell you that exercise is good for you? And you say, well, I just don't like to exercise. I don't like to sweat. I don't like to get up and push weights. I don't even like to think about that. Right? Okay. Do you think you're going to end up more positive than negative because of that thought process? Do you think your health is going to be better by not exercising? And are you really thinking about that at all? Is that something that you're really thinking about? Well, I had a guy tell me this week, I don't have time to start wellness. I don't have time to start wellness because I'm too busy doing sick care things. I got too many appointments to start wellness. I think I'll just start after the first of the year. Okay. Like I've done that before. I've been in that thought process before where I was like, yeah, I think January. It's already October 20th, right? Like we're fixing to get into Thanksgiving and we're going to get into Christmas, and who's going to get well during Thanksgiving and Christmas? Like that doesn't even make any sense. Like we're probably not, this is not the time to do wellness things. We would be better off if we skipped the wellness things and then just did the non-wellness things until the first of the year. And then when we get to the first of the year, then we'll start being well. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it? That doesn't make any sense at all. But we say those things to ourselves because we're not really thinking it through. We're not really thinking through exactly what we're trying to do with ourselves. And it's kind of creating a situation for ourselves that we end up being sicker as time goes on. So we're not really thinking about what we're eating, and we're not really thinking about the way we're moving. And so what about the way we're thinking? And what controls the way we're thinking? The two major things that control the way we're thinking, the way we're eating and the way we're moving. How funny is that, right? If you want to think better, move your feet. That's the thing that we said about the kid that's not going, he's not progressing to the level that I'd want him to progress. Like he's not progressing as fast as I would like for him to progress. The thing that I said to him was, or what I said to Brooke this morning is, we need to move his feet. That there's a horse trainer. There's a horse trainer from Stephenville, an Australian guy. I'll think of his name in just a second. I watched about 40 or 50 videos of him training horses because I grew up on a horse ranch, and I wish I would have known all the things that he taught. But the thing that he said, if you're having trouble with a horse, move their feet, because they can't move their feet and be stupid at the same time. That you'll get them out of whatever they're throwing a fit about if you just move their feet. And that is I don't know if I should say it that way. You can't move your feet and be stupid at the same time. It's really hard. It's really hard to just keep having a negative energy or a negative thought process when you're moving your feet. If you move your feet, you will increase your chances of getting through it, right? If you move your feet, if you get on your feet and exercise, it will help the way that your brain thinks. It will help you with your depression. It will help you with your anxiety. It will help you with your ADHD. It'll help you function better in life if you get up and move your feet. Now, why would you want to function better in life? Right? If you really haven't worked that out, then it doesn't make any difference. Well, I'm just too tired to move my feet. I just don't feel like exercising, right? Well, what does that mean? Your brain is not feeling like exercising, which means your brain's not working right, which means you're not thinking properly. You're really not thinking this through because you're not wanting to move your feet, right? That's the thinking part. How do we think better? Well, we think better when we eat complex carbohydrates and stay off of refined carbohydrates. That's one of the ways that we think better. It's like that's what I said at the beginning of the show, is that it just keeps going back. It goes back over and over and over to the same fundamental things. And we'll just keep getting our circle bigger and bigger as we bring it back, right? I don't like the way I feel. Move your feet. Eat the proper foods. Take your fish oil. Make sure you got some vitamin D. Make sure you got the nutrients that your body needs, right? How do I know what nutrients my body needs? There's different ways to test it. There's different ways to look at things. You can look at your blood work. You can look at their heart rate variability. You can look at your heart sound recorder, the things that we got here in the office. You can test yourself in your fitness level. You can see if you have any stamina. You can see if you're able to push yourself as you go, right? It's uncomfortable for you to move, and your brain doesn't like it to move because your brain is exhausted and it's not recovering the way it's supposed to, right? So thinking. Another thing that controls our thinking is the input that we get from our social media. And I'm hoping that we'll get this show better and better and better, so that this is something that you can go back to and say, just go back through the archive of stuff and see if it helps. It won't be long before I get somebody, and we'll start cutting all this stuff up and making shorts out of it. Not for you old timers, not shorts that you wear, but shorts videos that you can watch in short segments. Because I've had people tell me that too, man, that's a lot of stuff you're saying. There's a lot of information out there, and these shows are so long that I just don't have enough attention span to go this long. Okay, that's fine. Just go back and watch them later. Pick up where you left off. You can click down on YouTube down at the bottom and then go to your library, and it'll say view all, and it'll tell you where you left off on the last ones that you were listening to, right? So but that's what we're trying to do with the show, is create something that will help the way that you think. But we have to be careful. We have to really be careful with our social media. I went in and got coffee this morning, And as I was walking into Starbucks to get coffee, and I know that's going to make a lot of you mad, but just calm down just a little bit. I go get Starbucks because I love Starbucks, and not because of any sort of political thing or whether or not the lady on the cup is from the devil or whatever. No, it doesn't have anything to do with it. I like the coffee. So I went into Starbucks and I had to walk past about 4 people to get to the front where I could order my drink. And all 4 of them were sitting in Starbucks with their head down like that, looking at their phone. And I thought, that's really, it was just kind of, I thought, yeah, that's pretty much what we do these days, right? So whatever they're looking at, when they're looking at their phone, is affecting the way that they're thinking. And I'm telling you that there's a lot of stuff on social media. If you don't know it already, it's a big fat lie. A lot of that stuff on Twitter, which is now X, people just make up. They're just lying out their teeth. And they'll just say breaking news or just in or something at the top of their little post. And then they'll just say something and it'll be completely made up. And I have no idea what their agenda is to make something up like that. But so even the ones that you read through and you're not 100% sure if they're making it up or they're not making it up, you have to decipher the difference. But you could very well have an emotional response to it just by reading it. Just by reading it and having to figure out whether or not they're making it up or they're not making it up. It's like, bam, there you go. You've got an emotional response. Like we got baseball games going on right now, right? And some people are going to be super frustrated, like to see what's going on in the baseball world. They're going to be super frustrated because their team is not winning or their team is winning. Okay, whew, Texas is beating Houston 4-2 in the bottom of the 8th with 1 out. Oh, I just changed my whole. Never mind. Sometimes you can look at your social media and it just makes your whole day better, right? If you're a Ranger fan, you'd be fired up to find that information. If you're an Astro fan, you can be in the dumps to find that information, right? That's constant. So we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about the way that the social media that we get inside our heads and the way that we process those things, because it does cause our bodies to start to malfunction. And that stress that gets on us wears us down. And that stress that gets on us causes our body to deteriorate. And that stress that gets on us causes our cells to malfunction. And then we get right back into cancer, right? When our cells malfunction and the mitochondria can't breathe, we work our way right back into cancer. And it could be like, we got into cancer how? What for those kids that got cancer? I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about if there are 2 ways you get cancer. If it is some sort of genetic thing, or if there's some sort of other thing, or if there is something in your environment, if there's something that you control or there's something you don't control to get cancer, right? I'm not talking about the things that you don't control to get cancer. I'm talking about, what if there are things that you can control that keep you from getting cancer, and there are things that you can control that cause you to get cancer? Would you be interested in knowing that there are some things that you didn't just catch a string of bad luck? You actually chose your way into cancer. You actually chose your way into heart disease. You actually chose to have Alzheimer's. That's like a kick in the face, right? If we actually chose to have Alzheimer's. Like, we get to be the end of our life. We get to the end of our life, and then all of a sudden we chose to have Alzheimer's, right? Like, is that something that we want to do? And does it come back to what we have for breakfast on a Saturday? When tomorrow morning, when you decide to eat those cinnamon rolls, or you decide to make that trip to the donut store, or you decide to do that, you know what I think I'll do is I'll just have me a big old waffle. I think that's what we're going for tomorrow morning, is waffles, pancakes, syrup. That's what we're going to have. And when we eat all those refined carbohydrates and we jack up our insulin levels and we mess up the way that our body functions, think to yourself whether or not you're choosing Alzheimer's or you're not choosing Alzheimer's, and if that's really what you want to do. Hey, it's the end of the show. I appreciate you guys for this week. We're going to try to come back next week and have an even better show. I'm going to work on it this weekend, see if we can make it better for you guys. And if there's anything I can do to help you live a better life, please let me know, because I'm really interested in that. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday.